One of the things that we can do where it comes to consistency is looking at what's called a consistency calendar. Like if you have like a physical calendar up on your wall and you can sort of check mark when you're doing the things that you've planned out, like your action items. And then when you don't, you maybe put a red circle or a red X. I sometimes shy away from the X's because it makes it feel like you failed. And in some cases, it's probably not that you failed, it's just you didn't hit all the targets, right? You weren't as consistent with all the action items as you could be. Now, sometimes that's to do with life. And I think that helps you to really face it, right? You put it up on a calendar and you give a check mark or a box, whatever you want to denote when you hit all your targets versus when you did not. And the goal is not because I want you to always be, I don't want to see the whole thing as a win every day of the calendar. That's not the point. And that's not what 80-20 is all about anyway. But I want you to be able to see how consistent you are with hitting those targets. Because that way you know if you need to make a change, is it consistency? Or if you're consistent, you hit all these targets the majority of the time, like 95% of the time, then maybe it's something in your plan that we have to tweak. But maybe if you were 70%, which is just the 5 days in the week, really, and 2 days of the week you weren't doing well and you did that for the whole month, that's a little bit different than 80-20, right? Remember, it's 24 days out of the 30 that you need to be on to get this 80-20. So just quite similar to 6 days of the month, right? But often that's not both days or 3 days of the weekend every weekend. So maybe you're a little bit too lax in the consistency department and you're saying yes to things that maybe are not lining up with your goal. That in itself is not an issue. The fact is that we look at this calendar and we have to see, okay, when were you consistent, when were you not? And if you weren't, we have to look at, okay, is it the expectation that we have to see a change that's the issue? Or is it the plan that we have that's in it? Like we can dive into it a little bit further once we've checked off the consistency piece. Because that's always the first check we have to look at. Like how consistent have you been? You know that from what I've said before. But if it's a consistency thing because of life right now, it's just hard, then we have to adjust your expectations. We can't maybe expect as much of a change as quickly. And that's sometimes a slippery slope because I'm not saying give up and worry about this later. It's not worth you doing it right now because something is better than nothing. Turning your volume down to a 4 is better than turning it off altogether. And for those of you guys that had to start and stop before, you understand why. But it's more frustrating to start and stop on and off, taking this mindset where it's all in or all out. It's not a winning strategy. So back to the consistency calendar. You're marking it off when you're doing it. You're able to hit all those targets. When you're not, if you're not, we're looking at why not. Is it our expectation that it's not possible because all the situation that's going on with your life? Do we have to change the consistency parameters, like what you're trying to strive on a daily basis? Or more often than not, is it the realistic expectations? Do we expect the appropriate amount of result for what you're capable of doing right now? Not what you want to do, what you're capable of doing based on your life. So continue to employ this consistency calendar, see how often, and you could be more real with your assessment of a change on a weekly, monthly basis. And if there's opportunities to change, we will. We make the adjustments that we have to. But more often than not, as you heard me say previously, this will probably put it into right in front of you to face that. Is it more of an expectation thing? Like, are we expecting the appropriate results from the amount of consistency that we're applying? So it's probably not that you have to make some overhauling change. It's more likely that you need to fill up this calendar with a few more wins next month.